Hello. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? Yeah, I know. It's sad. Okay, where's my chat pop out gone? Where is my chat pop? Oh, there it is. There it is. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. It's working. Marvellous. Most excellent. That is what we need. Okay. Need to be a little bit further over there. My camera's having a few issues because these webcams have got like a little indent, and then the screw thing goes in like that, and then the thing that you screw it onto goes in there, and somehow the camera and the little screw holder thing have parted ways. So they're kind of tentatively held together, and by tentatively I mean I used a bit of kneaded eraser. I'm gonna have to get the E6000 out later and try and fix it. It always happens with these cameras. I don't know why. Maybe it's me because I'm a lefty and I screw it in weird. I don't know. Anyway, if this camera suddenly there's a big crash and you're looking at the ceiling, it fell off. Hey Susan. Welcome, welcome. GMC. I know it starts with a J. I can't remember if it's Joe or Jeff. Jeff, right? Yeah, Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Hello, hello, hello. So, bit of dog food. Dog food. You dropped a bit of dog food, Mr. Scooby-Doo. You gonna eat that? No? Maddie will eat it. Maddie, clean up aisle 3. Thank you, baby. Pelican, hi. You're a righty and the thread part just comes straight out. Oh, okay. It's not me then. Sometimes it is me because lefties, we tend to try and undo things the way we think it'll work, and then we remember we live in a right-handed world and we're like, oh, hang on a minute. Cody! Awesome, Cody's here. We have a mod. We have a mod in the house. You are on your own, Cody. So, news, updates. Coffee is fully set up. We are up and running. That's all I can tell you, really. It's up and running. That's it. Patreon is still enabled. We lefties are not in our right minds. We're in everybody else's right mind. We're good for undoing things, not so much for doing them up. Yeah, that's no problem. Once we've got a few more people who are regulars and tech savvy, I'll find somebody else who can be who I can bump up to mod for the day, who doesn't mind doing it, but that's fine. Don't worry about it. It's Katie's off, Mika's off, Risha's off, everybody's off. It's just me. But if you can cover for the first 10-15 minutes or so until we've got somebody else. Did I have a good day with my parents? No. Things arose, ensued, and have not been overcome because they didn't actually make it due to unforeseen circumstances. They are coming back up again in 2 weeks. But there was basically a whole chain. They take 3 motorways. Like, it's kind of a Z, basically. They take the M4 to get to from their house to the M5. They take the M5 to get from the centre to my house. The M6 to get from the M5 to my house. Both trips are maybe 40 minutes at most. And then up the M5 is the longest journey. And there were accidents everywhere. There was a car overturned because it hit the barrier. There was roadworks between two different junctions. There was a 4 pile-up of lorries in between the 2 points. It was a mess. So they set off really early and they tried to get here. And by 12:30, which is when they're normally here by sort of 11:30, 12, and we go out for lunch because their lunchtime is 12:30. And by 12:30, they weren't even halfway here. So I said to them, just pull off as soon as you can, get out of the traffic, go find somewhere for lunch, have a nice lunch, go home. Just, it's not worth it. Because by the time they'd got here, it would have been this time. So we'd have had to bolt down some food and then Dad would have had to drive back. And he's, you know, he's used to driving. He loves driving. He's driven all his life and he drives long distances. But he'd been up since 5 o'clock. And then they'd left really early. They should have been here by... He said they should have been here sort of 11:15, 11:15. And at almost 12 o'clock, they were only a third of the way here. And they were stuck in traffic still. So I just said, you know, go home. Try another day. It's fine. So I sent them off on a lunch date instead. But I had worked Sunday, knowing that I was supposed to take yesterday off anyway and be out for the day. So I just took the day off yesterday because I'd already worked my day. So I said, you know what? I've booked the day off. I'm going to have the day off. So I went out with the dogs. We went along the canal. We did some urban sketching. It was very nice. But yeah, hopefully they're coming up in 2 weeks and there won't be quite so much mayhem on the road, but there was just nothing we could do. I mean, they've not been stuck in traffic like that. I don't remember the last time we got stuck in traffic like that. It's a bit crazy, but Dad said he thought it was most likely that the roadworks were being marked, but because the roadworks were being marked, the accident further down was not being marked, and the lorries hit the traffic earlier than I expected and just hit each other. Because they couldn't stop in time. He said that's probably what happened. Because they didn't know there was an accident after the roadworks. For roadworks, you expect to just slow down and change lanes. You don't expect to be stuck in standing traffic. So, I don't know. Anyway, they're safe. They got off the motorway. They turned round and went back and stopped for a nice lunch somewhere. I sent them some money for lunch and they had a nice steak lunch and then went home. Yeah, it was actually quite nice to have a day to myself that I wasn't expecting, because I was expecting to go out. I'd got all the anxiety out of my system that I was going to be out of the house where there's people. I was not going to be staying at home. I was going to be going out. So I'd already done all that build up. And I could have just said, never mind, I'll just stay home. Excellent. Cancelled plans, the ultimate introvert and hermit, just, hey, cancelled plans, I'm staying home, yes. And I thought, you know what, no, the dogs are already amped up because they think we're going out, because obviously I'd been getting stuff ready and things, and so they were a bit excited. They were expecting to go out, and I had kind of amped myself up to going out. It was a lovely day. It was cloudy, but it was really warm and breezy. And I thought, you know what, it's a nice day for a walk. So we cut down through the park and along the canal, did some urban sketching, came home. It was very nice. I haven't done urban sketching for ages, and I realised yesterday that I actually really miss it. So I need to do it some more. Hi, Boo. Hello, Scoob. You're right there. He's very clingy today. I've got a Velcro pet today. So, my quest to complete these 2 sketchbooks by the end of the year has been partially successful. I the minute anybody tells me I have to do something every day, even if it's me, and I say, oh, I'll do something every day, no, it's not going to happen. So I'm not telling myself I have to do it every day. I'm saying I have to complete I have to try to complete the 2 sketchbooks by the end of the year. And I want to complete 2 sketchbooks by the end of the year. But if I only complete one of them by the end of the year, or complete both of them halfway by the end of the year, I'll take that as a win as well. Because you never know what's going to happen, right? And certainly once the weather changes and my arthritis kicks in and everything else, I never know when I'm going to have a good day and when I'm going to have a bad day. But I haven't done anything in this one since last week. However, we did take this one urban sketching. When I go urban sketching, I like to use a bigger page. And I had a bit of an experiment with this. So this is one of the bottle ovens. This is a very common sight where I live, because if you ever have bone china and it's old and it's from like, well, not even old necessarily, but if you go to a hotel and it's made by Steelite, they do a lot of breakfast dishes and stuff, the white breakfast dishes for hotels. The flatware it's called, isn't it? The flatware. And it says Steelite on the bottom with a little jail gate. That's near me. Royal Dalton. My brain has gone completely blank and I don't know why. Price Kensington's teapots. I've got it written down here. Price Kensington. JT Fine Chinas. There's bigger ones. Come on. Royal Worcester. All those kind of stuff. They all came from around here. All of it. There's very few chinas, English-made chinas, that didn't come from near where I live or in this surrounding area. At one point, there were over 4,500 bottle kilns like this. And many hundreds of these, the chimney stacks. Now we're down to 47. It's a bit of a shame, but all the ones that are left are all heritage buildings. So hopefully they'll all be looked after, but you can't really guarantee it these days. So these ones are the ones where they used to fire the actual pottery. And these ones are bone kilns. Literally, they used to burn up the animal bones to make bone china. Yeah. And I think the rule is it has to be 55% or more bone in the china clay, which is what makes it transparent. You know, when you have proper bone china and you hold it up to the light, you can see through it like it's like vellum. And the higher the amount of bone, the clearer it is and the thinner the clay is. Hence, fine china. Or fine bone china. So, yeah, I just walked along the canal. Here's the canal. It's a bit green and swampy, but it's cleaner than it looks there. I put a lot of brown in it and I should have stuck with the yellow. It's green water because it's a canal, obviously. But it's not swampy and nasty. It's really, it's just green water because it's a waterway. One of the bottle ovens. What I find fascinating about these bottle ovens is that they have like trees growing out of them and stuff. It's really strange. And then this is one of the... This actually should be the same shape of this, but I drew it weird. I don't know how. And then this is the other side of that building there. So that stack is this one. So I walked along. You can't actually see it because I managed to cut it off, but here, this is the corner of the canal. So it goes up and round and cuts back. And as you come back around, that's this one on this side. So this is the back side. If you were stood over here looking this way, that's what you'd see. This one was done with a Pilot Coletto. Logitech C4 Type 1, which is not waterproof. They're marker proof. They work with alcohol markers, but they're not waterproof. But they're really handy for just using on this paper for shading, because, or light shading, because this paper is cartridge paper. A lot of people don't really understand how pens, waterproof, non-waterproof markers, etc. work with paper. Cartridge paper is specifically made, in the US it's called heavy drawing paper. Over here we call it cartridge paper. It's specifically made to absorb ink. So if you use one of these pens that you normally would use on something like a Hobonichi, you can literally write on Hobonichi paper. I was just looking around to see if I have... Oh, I have got my old Hobonichi here. Here we go. Let me just grab one of these old pages at the back. So like Hobonichi paper, as you probably know, has a different texture to it. So if you use one of these pens and then you go in with a water brush, it will pretty much dissolve the ink completely. You can just about see where you scribbled, but it's more of an indentation. So a lot of people use these for highlighting things and stuff like that. But on this paper, as you can see, it didn't get rid of the black lines. It just allowed them to spread a little bit. And that's because the ink absorbs into the paper. So it's harder to re-wet it. So that's why I say these. This is the See Why It's a Brighton's books. They're not that great for things that you use wet to wet. So things like Ecoline pens, the Jane Davenport brush pens, anything that you put on and then you re-wet it doesn't really work on this paper because it absorbs in, especially the Ecolines, because it's ink. It's what they're made for. They're designed to absorb ink. But it's really handy to just take a water brush anyway and just get the shading. So I just do some cross-hatching where I want to do shading, and then I just run the water brush over it, and I've got the cross-hatching and the grey. I can then go around outlines and things like I did here. I just literally just drew over the outline and it gave me a shadow in there. And it just adds a little bit of personality rather than having a completely flat drawing. This one, I used a ballpoint pen and then I threw some markers over the top. But the markers I chose were too dark. When I tested the markers, they didn't look this dark. But again, because this paper is for ink, it absorbed the markers and essentially gave me really good coverage. It's great for markers because you don't have to keep going over the same area. But it really does literally absorb right through. Alcohol markers do that on everything except proper alcohol coated render paper. Even marker paper will bleed. It's just designed not to feather that way. This got a bit muddy. I was happier with it before I did the dark brown. I should have left it at the orangey brown, but whatever. You don't really know how much you need to not work on a piece until you overwork a piece. That's what sketchbooks are for, learning where the limits are. So I went back in and I put some more black over the top with a thicker pen. I actually just used a micron pen. And then I realised that if I went back in with a white gel pen and I picked out things like on the grey roofs, because it's all what do they call it? Corrugated iron, where it's ripply. Yeah, a lot of it is that, because a lot of these are temporary structures. So I filled the white in where the corrugated iron was. I used the white for the tiles. I put back in the white doors and the white windows and things like that, and the railings, and it just gave it an extra little bit of a lift, so it had more detail, and I quite like it. So I was really pleased with how the waterline came out. I went over that waterline about 6 times with different colours. Oh, just to get it that dark. But it took a while. It took a while to get it that dark, but it works. And then this one was done with the same method of this, but it was done with this, Where has it gone? This one, the Pentel. Now there's about 6 different versions of these. You got to be careful which ones you get. This is the Pentel Sign Pen. This is the original one that has been available. God, these were available when I was at school. And that's a long time ago. I think they've been available since like the 60s or something. But now they've got all sorts of different ones, like Pentel Sign Pen Brush, Pentel Brush Sign, Pentel. They've all got sign in the title, but they're all different types of pen. It's very confusing. But this is just the regular Pentel Sign Pen. It's got a regular felt tip. It's quite a hard tip, but you can actually do, because it's a hard tip, you can do a very fine line, but you could also do a very thick line. So it's quite good for doing 2 different types of colouring. And because it's not as, I mean, this, you couldn't colour with that G-Tech unless you wanted to be there forever. But this one is very easy to colour with. If you use it on the side, you can get a solid colour. So what I do is kind of scribble with it and then go in with a water brush. And again, on this kind of paper, you can literally just, it turns into like watery ink. You can even fade it out. I mean, you can do all sorts with it on this paper. But on this one, obviously it absorbs into the paper, so you get this kind of bluey grey, like a Payne's grey colour coming off it. And you can rework it at any time. So, you know, if I want to come down here and rework this waterline a bit and have it coming out a bit more into the water to give it kind of a reflection effect, I can do that, you know. So it's quite fun to be able to just throw it on and then add some extra shadows and things. Just different from having a completely flat drawing. So yeah, that was fun. I remembered that I really enjoy urban sketching when I'm not just drawing square buildings. Square buildings, I have no interest in square buildings, okay? Unless it's like a really ornate building. There's like there's a building around the corner from us that has big columns. Like it's got a big pointed roof and a columns like the Parthenon type. You know, it's very big and square, but it's ornate. It's extremely ornate. If they're very ornate and complicated and, you know, they've got different types of windows and this, that and the other and reliefs and statues, I'm all for that. I'm all for it. But don't make me draw a box. I do not want to draw a box. I'm not even really into churches unless they've got interesting things going on. I like them when they're inside. I like inside of churches. But outside, you know, if it's just a box with a point on it, I'm not interested. But I do like, where I live, there's so much interesting stuff to do. You know, there's a lot of buildings where the facades, the actual building has, you know, burnt down or fallen down or whatever, been knocked down in some cases. But they've left the facade, they've pinned the facade because it was a listed building. And there's a lot of places around here where you can just go and draw the facade of a building it's literally just the front of a building. I often wondered why they didn't just use the facade of a building and build another building behind it, and then use the facade of the old building as the front of the new building, but have it as 2 separate structures, so there wasn't an integrity issue. You know, I often wondered why they didn't just do that. But yeah, there's places I can go and draw weird. I thought about doing windows, because I really like doing windows and doorways and things like that, especially windows where the windows are ornate. They're not just like square windows. And we have lots of windows where they're industrial windows, like these 12 and 9 pane or 16 pane windows, where there's broken parts of windows and things like that, or the frames are falling apart, or half of it looks almost brand new and the other half is barely there. Or ones like this one here, you can actually see daylight through because the other half of the roof is missing. there's so many abandoned buildings in this area from the industrial years. So it's always really interesting to draw those, and I thought about doing a sketch walk along where I've literally just painted those this morning. How does this even happen? Yeah, I thought about doing a sketch walk where I just do all windows or all building, all windows or all doors or all entryways, or there's a lot of like back alleyways where you can get into the back of the building through a little courtyard type area. I would love to do all those kind of things. I just wanted to make you go to your downtown area and sketch some. Just have to wait until it's not 100 degrees. Yeah, don't go out in that kind of weather. Not a good idea. Yeah, a lot of the mills in up in Manchester, a lot of the cotton mills up in Manchester are just shells, or they're just facades, and they've turned them into office spaces or studio apartments or whatever. But unfortunately, where I live, it's built on clay. So every time it rains, everything slides downhill just a little bit. So it's a bit difficult to... there would have to be a lot of underpinning, because eventually what would happen is the new building would stay where it was and the facade would literally start sliding down the hill. That's why a lot of the buildings have fallen apart, because they literally, one half of the building stayed where it was and the other half of the building slid down the hill, and there was a gap like this in the brickwork. So it's not stable ground. The new buildings are a lot of the new building, and by new I mean, my area is not new. When I say new, I mean my building was built in 1898, but by then they'd figured out how to build into clay, because you can't, like, usually when you build, right, you have to make foundations, obviously. But usually what you do is you have a steady surface and you build down into it and you put in pilings and then you fill this space. But if you do that with clay, what happens is as soon as this gets wet, this bond is no longer stable and all the clay starts going this way, downhill. And eventually it knocks these pilings sideways and the whole building starts to go. But they've figured out how to do it where they now, instead of just trying to put essentially concrete into clay, which doesn't work, they've figured out how to do it where they build into the clay in steps. And they essentially build it like if it's going that way, they build it into the hillside, and then they dig these out and they refill it with pockets of clay and sand, because the sand absorbs the water out of the clay and it makes it more of a loam, which is more stable, because water can pass through loam, water cannot pass through clay. Whatever the clay is sat on, it's going to start sliding off. So eventually, if you've got all pockets of clay, if you've got a hill and this is all clay and this is all rock, this just slides downhill constantly. There's nothing you can do about it. So what they've started doing is digging out pockets of this and turning it into loam so that they can then build onto it. But if you don't do that with what's already there, you have a problem where the facade is unstable, basically, and at any time it could just fall off. Yeah, a lot of the UK is either clay or loam. There's a massive strip of clay that runs right the way down the centre of the UK. So yes, I'm the geek who looks at things and says, well, but why did that building fall down? Why is there a 2-foot gap between that wall and that wall? What happened? I was really interested in, like, well, when I was at school, we did geography up to sort of A level. what they didn't tell us was actually what we did in geography up to when we were 16 was geology. You know, learning about volcanoes and strata and coastal erosion and all that kind of stuff, all the interesting things. And then you sign up for geography at A level, which is what I did, and they bait and switch you. And suddenly you're talking about economics and why is there a nuclear reactor here? And I'm like, that's not what I signed up for. And they're like, oh, you mean geology. We don't do geology. And I'm like, I wanted to learn about rocks. Rocks and weather patterns, okay? That's what I want to learn about. Not all this tourism crap. I don't care about it. So, yeah. Bait and switched there. But it was a nice fun day out of just doing whatever I felt like. The dogs enjoyed it. They're getting older now, so they don't mind sitting while I draw. Even Maddie will sit and rest and have a nap while I draw. Anyway, part of that reminded me of these books, which I love. And following on from our chat last week about, you know, just draw something. Everybody gets so hung up about, oh, but I don't know what to draw, and I need it to be perfect, and meh. Just pick up a pen and draw something. And Danny Gregory is the king of just pick up a pen and draw something. This book is a bit more intense, but this one is brilliant. He does have another one that includes this, or a lot of what's in this. You love geology. I'm surprised, Cody. I mean, you have a relative who was a major geologist. You have a huge rock collection. I can't imagine you being... We should sign up for an online geology class. It'd be awesome. I love geology. I think it's so fascinating how just getting water into a place affects different types of rocks, and compression of the land makes diamonds. I mean, it's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Yeah, they bait and switched me. I was not happy. But I swapped out of there into something else, so. And my geography teacher was gutted because I was always really good at geography. I got top marks in everything for geography. And I did 2 weeks of A-level, saw what the syllabus was, and I was like, this is not what I signed up for. I'm out of here. And I went off and did drama instead. And they were not happy because they thought I was going to be an A+ student. And I'm like, no, because I'm not doing tourism. I don't care about tourism. I don't care about the economy and its effects on how buildings are made. I'm not into human geography. I like rocks. Hi, Pammy. Nice to see you. Are you getting the updates on coffee? Because I started using coffee a lot more. Like things like my pictures of my urban sketching and stuff. I'll probably post those more on coffee than just on Instagram. People like to see finished work on Instagram, and I like to post sketches, and I like to post sketchbooks and things. So, I mean, I'd probably post some on both, but yeah, make sure you've got your updates turned on so you can see. So, the king of pick up a pen and just draw something, and it doesn't matter how good or bad it is, just draw it, is Danny Gregory. He has his own YouTube channel. He has his own entire site with a whole team of instructors. You are awesome. That means that bit of the site's working. Excellent. I love the way coffee is just so automated. You just, as long as you tick the right boxes as you post something, everything works seamlessly. It's fantastic. And it's so fast. I love the coffee people. You collect crystals and would love to find geology more interesting than geography. Oh, you would find geology more interesting than geography. Yeah. Geography I found out, is about people and how people interact with the land. And I don't care about people. I'm interested in the land itself and how it interacts with the weather and stuff like that, you know. Oh, thanks, Pam. That's so sweet of you. I'm glad you enjoy it. There'll be a lot more stuff on there now because I'm basically using it kind of in a similar way to Patreon, but you know, Patreon is just private stuff, and on Coffee I can have like an entire blog. It's great. Anyway, I keep getting sidetracked. Squirrel! It's one of those days. Danny Gregory, Sketchbook School. That was what I was trying to think of. He has a whole thing called Sketchbook School with loads of different instructors from all over the world. Some of them are urban sketchers, some of them are journalers, some of them are illustrated journalers, all sorts of things. And it's funny because I was watching a tutorial of his the other day, and he said, everything about what we do at Sketchbook School and on the website and on my YouTube is all about illustrated journaling, but we don't actually teach illustrated journaling. I just thought that was really funny. He doesn't teach illustrated journaling. He teaches you how to draw a pepper pot with a pen, you know. This book, if you already have the creative license, this book is just the memoir parts and his pictures and stuff from the creative license. There were a lot of people who said they didn't need the creative license. The creative license is for people who are like, I need permission to draw. I don't feel like I'm worthy of, I can't draw, therefore I shouldn't try. Those kind of people. The people who want to draw but just get stuck on what to draw and are like, I wish I could do this, but I just, you know, I pick up my pen and I'm like, well, what am I going to draw? I don't know. Processing something that bamboozled her brain. Yeah, it's not the bamboozling. It's not bamboozling. It's the squirrels. It's the ADHD squirrels in the background running up to me with Post-its about something that is completely unrelated to what I'm talking about. That's the problem. There's a lot going on in my head at any one point. I am very easily distracted. I probably haven't had enough coffee. Actually, I think this might be my first coffee today, which is crazy because it's 4:30 in the afternoon. All the fresh air and walking yesterday tired me out though, so I had a really, really good sleep. So I got up late, which is not like me at all. I'm normally 2 hours of sleep and I'm done. I'm bored now. Anyway, yeah, this is the memoir part. So if you're already drawing and you just want ideas, this is a really good book. It's only a little book. It's $15. Probably cheaper on Amazon. Even cheaper if you get a secondhand one, which you can always find on eBay. But he literally tells the story of how he started drawing, and essentially his wife was in an accident and there was a lot of waiting around in hospitals and all sorts of stuff, and he just started drawing what he could see because he was bored. I love this. Do not fear mistakes, there are none. Miles Davis. And he does a lot of interesting, like, we get hung up on drawing the whole building, you know. And he does a lot of this where he'll concentrate on one little bit of a building and draw it in real detail. And then he'll be like, oh, well, the building, this is the corner of the building and it goes off around here. And you can see there's a strut where the building comes. But he didn't draw that bit. He left it empty and he'll write in it, Danny's story is what brought you back to your art many years ago. Wow. And if you read it, that encouraged me as a caregiver to my hubs for 24 years, and he's now in a family home. Wow. Oh, so you've got your hub sorted out, because he was declining quite rapidly, wasn't he? And you were trying to get help for him. So he's in a place where he can be cared for 24/7 now. Is it? And you can just takes a bit of a load off you. I mean, it's got to be awful not being with him, but at least you're not having to handle it all yourself. That's a lot of pressure. he just does some really interesting things. He doesn't hold himself back from anything. On the street with my boy, and he said, "Dad, you could draw my hands if you want to." So of course I did. We sat down on a bench on 6th Avenue, and he sat very, very still while I traced his hands. Then he held them up and we looked through his window. Oh right, so he drew the hands, he drew his hands and he traced around them, and then he went like that and he drew what was inside the hands. Well, cool idea. You could do that with anything. Pick up a... What have I got that's got a hole in it? I'm sat at my desk, so not really an awful lot. But I do have this, you know. There you go, draw that. Draw the circle on the page, draw what's in the circle. You've got to get this as a person who spends way too much time in hospitals. Oh, the story itself is just... It's incredibly interesting because he presents it as a journal. He never wrote the story. He presents his journals. And then he added some bits that explain the story behind the journals, if that makes sense. But these are all pages from his actual journals. So he explains how their life was before. One morning, Pat left the boy with the babysitter, went to the subway station to go uptown. While waiting for the train, she fell off the platform onto the tracks. As the train pulled in, he slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. 3 subway Oh, trigger warning. She was very badly injured, let's put it that way. She survived, but she was very badly injured. Sorry, I should have remembered that was there. Hey, Kitty! You made it! Yay! So, yeah, there was a lot of recrimination and getting annoyed and etc, etc. How do we rebuild from here? What do we do? How are we... And then he talks about, well, Patty was in the hospital. Jack and I logged lots of hours in our old cowboy rocker. He would lean back against my chest and we would listen to music or read a book. It's so personal, the way he writes about it. I had no way to think about my life anymore. I didn't know anyone who was married to a cripple. It's very raw. He literally, I mean, you know, we don't say cripple these days, but, you know, that's how he felt. That's what his brain was telling him. What do I do? I don't even know anybody who's disabled. And all the anxiety and change of suddenly I'm a caregiver and I'm pushing somebody around in a wheelchair, and after that, because it's completely natural reaction. It is that completely natural reaction. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has the beautiful reaction that they have in romantic comedies of, oh, it's okay, darling, I'll look after you for the rest of my life. He was scared. And he was worried about what it meant for him as well as what it meant for her. It's completely natural. But he started drawing because essentially he says, oh, I was a mess. He started having mental health issues because of it. He didn't feel like he could talk to anybody about it because everybody was trying to be supportive, but they didn't really understand what he was going through. This is very interesting, the different ways of looking at it. While I was looking frantically for meaning, Patty was getting on with her life. Even though she was in a wheelchair, she was working, making friends, bonding with her son, healing. She was a new person to me, with all of the things I'd loved about her since we met, combined with a whole new courage and resolve. I was in awe of her. And I felt even more pathetic because, after all, the accident was hers and I was only a bystander. You know, it's very sad. The whole story is very sad. And he talks about different things he's done, and all of these pictures are just stuff that he's drawn in his journals. And you can see there's stuff from, you know, things like this that is very detailed, and colour stuff, and just outline drawings, and really bad faces, and really wonky books, to little houses with sunshine and stick figures, you know. This is the interesting bit. I've always made things, little books, sculptures, meals, doodles. I've never thought of myself as an artist, though. My father calls it the curse of the Gregorys. This drive to always make things out of other things. My grandfather spent years trying to make a machine that would produce a little brass ship when you turn its crank. He never succeeded. But his house was always full of partially formed little brass boats. My father starts every single day by painting a self-portrait and writes software no one will ever see. My uncle is a potter and has loads of kids. Eventually, a couple of years after the accident, I found myself making things in earnest again. I learned to bind books, then to throw pots, and I wrote reams in my journals. Then one evening, I decided to teach myself to draw. I've always doodled on spare scraps of paper or grotesque heads, spirals, grids, that sort of thing, but now I committed to drawing things around me and sticking to studies of real things. And my first efforts were horrible. So this is the kind of thing he recommends drawing in the creative license. The creative license is more of a workbook. This is more of his personal stuff. You know, you're sitting in a hospital, you want a journal, but you also want to doodle some stuff. What do? Oh, you draw the IV bag and then you write in the IV bag, right? Your hub said he felt more in pain from my surgery than I did. You had the cheap seat. You just felt the pain. You just felt pain to no pain where he had to see all the details. Yeah, because for him it's an emotional trauma. For physical trauma, yeah, it was awful for you. Of course, you had to heal from it and everything else. But for the most part, if you feel pain physically, you take your meds. You take your pain meds, and it goes away. Or it at least dies down a bit and he's manageable. There's no band-aid for, oh my God, my wife is seriously in hospital and she might die. There's no band-aid for that, you know? Hey, Rach. Draw lots of light bulbs. Go and look at every light bulb. This is an exercise in the creative license. He says, go around the house looking for every different type of light bulb and draw it. There you go. You got nothing to draw? Go draw your light bulbs. Open the medicine cabinet and draw it. Don't tidy it up, just draw it. Open the kitchen cabinet and draw it. And then in the creative license, he says, open the kitchen cabinet, put a stool down and just draw what you see. And when you're finished, tidy it up and draw it again. But this is just great as an idea book, but it's nice as a personal, more like a diary type book as well. So this is his urban sketching, and I'm always in awe of anybody who can do this. I mean, I thought I did rather well with this, actually. I did quite well with this. I like my fine pens. I like my ballpoints. I deliberately use this pen because you can't get into a lot of fine details because you don't have enough nib to be able to draw fine details, and I didn't have a lot of ink in it. So I stuck with doing the outlines of what I could see and then putting in a few details. If this had been a ballpoint pen sketch, it would have been fully rendered. It would have taken me several hours and I never would have done these two because I wouldn't have had time. But I really like this one. It's just got so much charm, I guess. I'd quite like to get some of these pens in other colours. I see they do, excuse me, I see they do a whole set of different colours. In fact, just before class, I was thinking, oh, I might go and see if I can get the full set of different colours, because Cult Pens does all of them. And I might get different ones that I know, like the greens, the red, the orange. I can use a lot of those in my urban sketching. Not likely to use blue. There's not a lot of blue around here. Once you get rid of blue sky and the occasional blue front door, everything around here is very red brick and industrial. Red brick and grey and industrial and very overgrown. So reds and greens and browns. This colour palette, basically. So I thought I might get some colours that would be better for urban sketching so I can do more of this kind of stuff. I mean, I like it in black, but I really like the idea of doing, you know, a little... What if these windows are red? What if this awning is stripy greens? You know? Just that one thing. Like, oh, stripy green awnings. I mean, I could use my Jane Davenport brush markers for this. But then the black would bleed into the colour. And I'd have to use I'd have to use a waterproof black pen, so I could use watercolour over the top. It's easier to just have water-based pens and a water brush. Sometimes he does really small, simple sketches, and sometimes he does really detailed bits, but simple outlines. And other times he goes hell for leather. I mean, look at this. We just got a new pillow for our collection. This yellow jacket was lying on our kitchen windowsill, a casualty of the plunging mercury. So, dead insect because it got cold. What do you do with a dead insect? You pick it up and put it in the trash, right? No, you draw it first. So, yeah, this is really, really good for just, you know, go and get... This is another one. Go and get several cylindrical objects from your house and draw them all and learn how to draw cylinders. He just takes things that are super simple. His kids' ornaments off the... I think this is one where he got his son to pick out his favourite ornaments from the tree. And he drew his son's favourite ornaments. So by giving it meaning, it turns it into a journal entry as well as just a sketchbook. It's fantastic. I love the way he does this. He drew a bear. Sometimes I feel like this. Yeah, don't we all? Sometimes he just does a contour drawing, an outline drawing of something. I mean, that is a garbage truck. The handles up there and the slope give it away. Seems like it's a garbage truck. I can't read that on camera, but it's an extremely interesting concept. Basically feeling a need to put things on paper. Not caring about whether you can read it afterwards or what it means or analysing it or just writing. He's talking about automatic writing, really. Just writing boring crap, essentially. And drawing ineptly have become something I need to do. If I haven't written page after page of crackling, witty insight about my inane life, And drawings that look like they were done by a monkey with a stick. That's not what he actually says, but we'll paraphrase it as a monkey with a stick. It doesn't matter. Maybe one day I'll do better, maybe not. In the meantime, I like this. It's fun. We get so caught up in, oh, well, I'm going to draw a garbage truck, so I'm going to make it look like this. Like, this is, you know, all the stuff. Ugh. No, but you can just do the outlines and just do the bit that's interesting. Or just do the logo. Or you can do what he's done here. You can draw a really interesting truck with all the bells and whistles. And then instead of doing the livery on the truck, you can do your journaling on the side of the truck. I love this kind of stuff. I've started doing more of this stuff in my my red moleskin. I have taken my red moleskin out of public consumption. Maybe when it's finished I'll show it more, but I'm getting into this kind of thing and just doing whatever, whenever. Because I was getting into, I mentioned this before, I was getting into one page at a time, or one page a day, or, you know, or basically filling a page. I couldn't just draw something there and then leave it. I couldn't just draw one thing in the middle of the page. I had to fill the entire page. And if I filled one page in the session and I still had time, then I needed to fill the other page, you know. And it was this constant, I have to do a spread kind of attitude, which I hate. And I hate catching myself in that where, oh, I've got to do the whole layout. So I'm very much trying to just do more of this, where it's just, oh, well, he drew a couple of random things and then, oh, he stuck a sticker there and a dead flower there, pressed flower, a couple of pressed flowers, wrote a note, you know, that kind of stuff. Just being less, I have to make a layout, I have to make it a sketchbook kind of thing. I love this kind of thing. Look, just all these tiny little drawings with bits and pieces and little bits of notes and stuff, and occasionally filling it in. Do you have a typewriter? Great, draw your typewriter. Oh, you don't have a typewriter? Well, draw your keyboard and computer then. And immediately, as soon as somebody says, I don't know what to draw, next time you hear somebody say, I want to draw, but I don't know what to draw, and say, well, draw your computer. Draw your phone. And I guarantee you, they'll say something like, no, that's boring. Guarantee it. They'll say, no, that's boring. Because they think sketchbooks and journals have to be exciting. The amount of people who don't keep a journal because they're bored, their life isn't exciting enough. And like this, where he was drawing the house and he ran out of time, but he started from the bottom up so he could capture all the interesting bits. And then he just left the rest of it. I like this. Tells a story. That's the thing about urban sketching. Urban sketching is not, I'll go out and draw a building. Urban sketching is telling stories of places. And this isn't something I made up, okay? This comes from Gabby Campanario himself, who pretty much invented urban sketching as we know it. And he said, if you are sat in a coffee shop and you draw somebody sitting across from you having a cup of coffee, that's not urban sketching. That's figure drawing. If you draw the person sitting across from you and perhaps draw, you know, maybe they've got loads of shopping bags around them and they've got them all squirreled away under their table. Add those shopping bags and the tiny little table and, you know, maybe a note that says this, somebody stopping for a quick cup of coffee during their Christmas shopping expedition, you know. That tells a story. What's the story? What's the story of this building? Well, the story of this building is this stuff is what everybody concentrates on. Nobody really knows what goes on up here. Nobody pays attention to this bit. Nobody ever looks up. But it also is a journal entry because he ran out of time drawing it. He knew he didn't have time to draw the whole building, so he did the outline and then he concentrated on the bit that was interesting at the bottom. You know? Get out of my head. Oh, were you on the "oh, but that's boring" track? I get stuck on this where I'm like, I love the simpleness of just one pen and a book and just draw. And occasionally he'll like throw in some, I think he actually uses a waterproof pen, and then he has a brush, you know, like one of these filled with grey ink, and that's what he uses. But I like this, but I also like the colour. And I get it in my head sometimes that I'm like, am I going to use colour or am I going to use this? How am I going to make this book look? Instead of just using whatever the hell I like on that day and doing whatever the hell I feel like. Look at these. We left the pigs after feeding them figs and went home to have ham sandwiches for our lunch. Oh. Again, it tells a story, doesn't it? It's not just the story of we fed the pigs some figs, which happens to rhyme, and then we went home for lunch. No, we had ham sandwiches. Oh, the irony, you know. It tells you where his brain was at that day and what he was thinking. Dog. His lack of judgment on his drawing skills and the fact that he fully accepts my drawings are terrible and I'm going to draw them anyway makes his drawings good. How many of us would look at this and go, well, that's not a very good drawing? If we'd done it. I mean, I wouldn't. I'd love this. Look at all this texture. You can touch that dog's fur, feel the texture. But if you'd done that, honestly, if you'd drawn this, would you look at it and go, huh, that's really cool? Would you look at it and go, I drew a terrible picture of my dog and I love it? Or would you go, oh, this isn't very good. I'm never going to show this to anybody. No. You know. Keyboards are boring. Yeah. But they're not boring. Because guess what? I have somewhere in my many journals, I once did that thing because I had way back when I was at university, I was one of about 3 people who actually had a computer supplied by the university. We spent most of our time programming them, not actually using them for work. We learned to make Pong games and stuff like that. But there was something about it that I think I'd got to that point where I'd realised that since I was a kid, when all cars were big and square and boxy, that 20 years later, suddenly cars were starting to round off. It was the early 90s when they were starting to... Nothing was metal anymore. It was all fiberglass and rounded shapes and bubble butts. That's what my dad used to call the new estates, bubble butts, because they didn't look like proper cars. Nothing looks like a proper car anymore, you know. And I was aware of that change, and I was aware that if these newfangled computer things were around for a while, they probably wouldn't look like this for a long time. And I drew my computer one night. I was just lying on my bed and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to draw my computer. I'm bored. I'll draw my computer. And it's so funny to look back at that sketch of this enormous beige box with a 2-tone screen that had about 7 pixels on the entire screen. You know, it wasn't even as high def as the TV that we had. And, you know, look back at it now and go, my entire computer is held within this very sleek looking glass screen. A 21-inch iMac. That's all very sleek. And now that's a dinosaur. I mean, have you seen the new ones? They're this thin. Mine's like this thin. My first computer was like a box. It was huge. Massive. And you had, if you used it for more than 2 hours at a time, you had to put the fan on next to it because it didn't have enough fans to cool it down. Nothing's ever boring because everything changes. Oh, you've drawn your partner like 20 times. Okay, well, draw him again. Draw them again. Draw your kids again. Because guess what? Your kids don't look the same as they did yesterday. They don't look like they did a year ago. Anyway, this is good if you're more into the journaling, personal journey type thing of it. Pelican, you're absolutely right. This is something that you would absolutely love this book. It's so good. It's so interesting. The creative license includes most of what's in here. I'd say about 80% of what's in here is in the creative license as well. But the creative license also has loads of drawing prompts and exercises and lots of... I mean, if you've watched one of Danny's videos, you can literally hear him in your head going, yeah, but don't worry about it if it's perfect. It doesn't have to... Who says it has to be perfect? Nobody. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not concentrating on being perfect. We're concentrating on making it look like a tin. You know. Drawing his feet, yeah. There's a lot of people who do that. Like they draw their feet and their shoes just wherever they happen to be. Is it Paul Heeson? That might not be the right name. One of the urban sketchers always puts his feet. He always does a drawing of him sketching and his feet and then what he's looking at. Always. Sorry, I've got a froggy throat. Think of each sketch, boring or not, as levelling up your drawing skill. Yeah. It's a gaming mentality too. Think of it as farming. Yes, you've got to kill 4,000 murlocs to find that one thing that you want in the game. But guess what? If you kill enough of those little murlocs and listen to them going ah! As they die, eventually you will get the little flying baby dragon. I did it, and so can you. Anyway, this one is more about travel journaling, but it's interesting if you live somewhere a little more unusual. If that makes sense. If you like to go out and sketch places, or you like to look at different ways of sketching, or you don't really have in mind a particular way of drawing, and you want to try lots of different things. This has everything in it, and it's not just Danny Gregory. He's got a section in it, but there's people like Brenda Swenson in here. You can see I use this book a lot to refer to Richard Shepherd. He does a lot of similar drawing to Danny, but with lots and lots of colour. Look at all this colour that he throws on things. There's people like Tommy Kane in here. Pete Scully, he's got a very comic artist style of drawing. And some of these look very complicated. But what you have to remember is that a lot of these drawings, because they're urban sketchers, almost all urban sketchers places, any urban sketchers meetup you go to will be 2 to 3 hours at most. Very often it's 2 hours on site with a quarter of an hour meet up, quarter of an hour meet up at the end to take photos. They call it a throwdown, where you throw down your sketches, and then they'll go off for lunch, you know. But mostly you have to work within 2 hours. So it teaches you to focus on what's most important. Well, what's most important about what you're looking at? Getting the things down. Not the colours. You can take a photograph and work on the colours later. But an awful lot of urban sketchers will work on getting the details and the drawing and the line work. And all the rest of it comes later. So they'll start off with something like this, and they won't fully render it until they get home. That's very common with urban sketchers who do this level of detail. I mean, not everybody does. But this is really good if you live in places that are unusual. Or, I mean, I love this kind of stuff. Just drawing a Paris skyline. You tend to think of things like this as, I can't remember what this place is called, but you tend to think, oh, I have to go and sit at the front of this building and find somewhere comfortable to sit and look up at it and draw it perfectly and so on and so forth. He did this from his hotel window because he looked across he was sat out on the balcony having breakfast and he could see the skyline. He could see the roof of it over the skyline. He just drew that instead. You just opened up a book you took out of storage 2 weeks ago and started sketching the things on your desk. Perfect. Because eventually you'll go, oh, I feel like drawing such and such, and you'll have an idea and you'll start drawing that. Anytime you don't, it's like what's her name? Really well-known watercolorist. Not Brenda Swenson, the other one, the Australian lady. Travels all over the world. Has a YouTube channel. Cannot for the life of me remember her name. She's in here. Every single day, to make sure that she draws something, every single day, she collects antique or thrift shop teacups and saucers. And she's a different one every day, and every single day she draws her cup of coffee or cup of tea or whatever it is that she has. If she's not at home, she gets a cup of coffee, or she goes out for a cup of coffee and she draws the cup. So sometimes it'll be a Starbucks cup and other times it'll be one of her teacups at home or whatever. And she rotates them, so she uses a different one every single day. And that makes sure that she draws something in her journal or her sketchbook every day. This is the kind of crazy thing I like to do. Andrea Joseph is my spirit animal. This is what happens when a ballpoint pen artist meets detail. This is actually not done with a ballpoint pen. This is done with one of these tiny little things in sepia. Bye, Cody. See you later. Urban sketching in games. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, yeah. That's a really cool idea. I was doing that in Animal Crossing. Just, you know, find the sunset and just go and draw it. Yeah, this is what happens when hyperfocus meets a ballpoint pen. This. And then she started drawing places, but she started drawing them much looser. And then she discovered urban sketching, where she had to draw much faster. And her whole system lightened up. But this is all done with ballpoint pens or Pilot Calitos, these really tiny fine line pens. This is what I used to enjoy doing. And now I'm like, life is too short. No, Jane Davenport's the mermaid marker woman. She's in here somewhere. What's her name? I get her. She sends out a monthly newsletter that I get and read. It's the only monthly newsletter that I actually read. What's her name? I'm sure she's in here. Really well known. She does tutorials and she travels the world doing all these urban sketching tutorials. Liz Steele! That's her. Liz Steele. She's 229. I knew she was in here somewhere. Sorry if I made you jump because I shouted. I get excited when I find somebody's name. Liz Steele, here we go. She's really well known. She used to be an architect, so she does a lot of these heavily graphic things. But again, this is really simple. The designs, instead of just drawing the roof, she cut down the design into... Obviously, she sat straight on looking at these to figure out what the exact design was. And then she just drew what she could see and what she could do. No, Liz Steele. Samantha Dion Baker is great. Her books are really good. The second one is better as a tutorial book, if that's what you want. The first one is not a tutorial book. It's about her journals. Liz Steele is an urban sketcher. And I love the way she just throws things together in like 10 minutes. Drawing a floor plan is the best way to understand a building like this, but I'm not allowed to sketch in the church. So she couldn't go in and walk around the floor plan. It's just so rough. And I like that she does this kind of thing, and then she'll, like these, it's just scribbles. Circular scribbles, but then the details she's put here. There's a building near where I live, the Art Institute. It's one of the Josiah Wedgwood buildings, and it is the most ornate, incredible building. But you try and draw it, and it's really hard. Because it's so overwhelming, and there's all these windows, and let me see if I can find a... Hang on. Let me see if I can find an image of it without... There's two parts of the building, so... Okay. Here we go. So this is the front entrance of the building, which is on the opposite side of the road. It used to be an entire complex that went up and around and back, but these are the two parts of the building that survived. The rest of it was factories, so it used to be all connected, but it's not anymore. So this is the facade of the building. And then this is the other side of the road. Look at all these ornate reliefs and sculptures, and there's all these... This is actually the story of how Wedgwood made its pots. So these are actually little friezes, if that's what they're called. Frieze reliefs of the story of, you get all the stuff together and you put it in the kiln and you mix it up and you do this. And then there's all these people who pull them out of the pots and you paint them, and then it goes to the factory and all that. But you'd look at that building, and this is only like a little bit of the building. It's huge. And I've tried to draw this building so many times, and it's so overwhelming because you immediately think, I've got to count all these windows. Look at all these windows. There's so many windows. There's all these reliefs. How am I going to get that? And it's in perspective because I can't get any further away. Because if you sit across the road at the other place, here, this is exactly opposite that. And if you sit on these steps, you can't see any more than about that much of the building. Because it's huge. And it's so overwhelming. And if you sit at the end of the road where you can see the whole building, it's like this big at one end and it's that big at the other. And I've tried so many times to draw this, and every time I get into that, but I've got to get all the perspective lines and the... You know what? You don't have to. You could just draw a big rectangle and just draw what you see. And make it look like that. And then go along and go, okay, well, what's that figurine look like? It's actually Josiah Wedgwood. Okay, so what does that look? What are all these? Let's draw one of these. Let's find the most interesting one of these and draw one of those. Let's find one of these reliefs that's really interesting and draw. Let's draw these circular window emblem things. And just put those around the book. And I forget to do that. And it's something that Danny Gregory does a lot as well. And I want to get that loose kind of just draw what's in front of you kind of look to it. She hasn't got any of her teacups in here. That's very... Oh, there she is drawing one of her teacups. Echo. Ros Stendhal draws animals wherever she goes. And she's just brilliant at it. Look at her giraffe. She does similar to what John Muir-Law does. So I was watching actually it's an interview with John Muir-Law, who's a really well-known nature journaler. I want to say naturist, but I don't know if there's naturist and naturalist, and one of them is definitely not what we're talking about. The one who draws from nature. Okay. And he said, when you're drawing and you feel yourself trying to make something too perfect, and you can feel your brain saying, I thought you were drawing a pretty picture. Why doesn't it look pretty? This doesn't look pretty enough. Why doesn't it look pretty enough? You know the thing, you know. Usually my answer is, I don't intend it to look pretty. Shut up, Brenda. Because Brenda is my inner librarian. She's very nitpicky and she's only allowed out during tax season. His method is to say, as soon as you feel yourself saying, oh, it's not pretty enough, it's not good enough, it's not this, it's not that, start making notes. And eventually, when you start making notes, you know, this sheep has a huge bowed nose. He's a big bowed nose. He's a white face with knobbly white legs. A woman passing thought we were some sort of cult. No. Just start making notes. And he said, as you start writing things down, like how tall something is or how big something is, estimate the square feet of something, draw a map of where it is, your brain goes, oh, we're not drawing a pretty picture, we're drawing a diagram. Gotcha. And then it will start looking for significant information instead of trying to make it look pretty. Oh, don't forget that bird's tail. That bird's tail is a bit longer than that, actually. That bird's head is a bit bigger. You should have drawn it a bit bigger. Oh, look, he's taking off. Quick, draw the wingspan. Nature drawing and journaling guy. He's fantastic. There's a whole interview with him over on Danny Gregory's channel. And he talks so much sense. He did a 4-hour lecture on how to draw a mushroom, and it's the most interesting lecture I've ever seen. But he says, you know, as soon as you get into, I'm starting to get too perfectionist, I'm trying to make it too perfect, straight away, start writing notes. Start journaling, start writing notes, start taking measurements, draw a map, anything to make your brain go, oh, we're not trying to make it pretty, we're collecting information. Gotcha. And then you stop worrying about it being pretty, and it's all about gathering the information. And you'll start doing things that make it look pretty, like going, oh, that bird's got a really interesting coloured head. Let's colour. Oh, that flower's a really interesting colour. Let's make sure we capture that, you know. Oh, look, that bird and that flower have the same colour. Let's go and put that colour over here. Instead of trying to count windows. It's not about being perfectionist. It's about being able to capture a lot of information very quickly. I mean, there's no reason I couldn't do this with that building. I mean, if you took those two buildings Hi, Jane. Sorry, I didn't say hello. If you took those two buildings, right, there's the shape of that one. It's like squares with a pointy thing and some columns. Okay, squares and a pointy thing and some columns. Hell of a lot of windows and lots of detail. And some statues. Hell of a lot of details, windows and a statue. There's no reason that building couldn't be drawn like that. But for some reason I couldn't do it. Bear in mind I've been urban sketching since... When did we start Urban Sketches Stoke? I want to say 2017, and I was already doing it before that. I'd been doing it for quite a long time before I met up with Laura. And finally I found somebody else who liked doing urban sketching, and I was like, we can form an Urban Sketches chapter, finally. No more travelling up to Manchester. But, yeah, it's taken me that long to get to the point where I feel like, you know what, I don't care about capturing the entire building. I think I've gone out of that phase of everything must be highly rendered. Maybe I've got lazy. I don't know. I love this though. It's so cool. All the colours are there. All the details are there. If you walked past that building, you'd go, oh, that's that building that she drew. Interestingly, it looks like a very, very English building, and it's not. It's in Bangalore. Craft a lunch. It's not craft a lunch, actually. It's the dog food falling off the desk. I read that the wrong way round. It's not Miranda Prashant. It's Prashant Miranda. It's a he, not a she, called Miranda. It's Miranda's the surname. You get this in a lot of places in like Indonesia and stuff as well. Places that were colonised. You get a lot of English buildings in the middle of nowhere. All these very ornate Asian buildings and things like that. And suddenly there's a big red brick thing. So I'm just... Kathy Johnson, she wrote the first book that I picked up on illustrated journaling. I'd never seen it before, and I was like, oh, is that what I'm doing? Is that what it is? Because I sit in lectures and draw the people who are sat in front of me. Is that what I'm doing? I'm writing notes and drawing what we had for lunch and stuff. Is that what it's called? Illustrated journaling? Okay. Great. I'm not the only one doing this. Look at this. This is done with crayon. Wax crayon. Who takes Crayola wax crayons to go urban sketching? Roberta Avida. That's who. Domes in Rome. Small, tiny, copper, tin, one dome. And things like this where he does all the outlines of the buildings. It's almost like a single line drawing, but it's not. It's got that single contour feel to it, but you can see where the lines are broken. And then he just takes the overall colour of the place and just throws it all in there. That's the colour of Dubai. It's very cool. I want to do more of this again. So, if you are in my class, or you want to join my coffee class, this is what we're going to be doing with, not urban sketching specifically, but loose drawings of stuff. You can draw whatever you want. I don't care. Draw your coffee cup, draw your dog, draw the view out your window, draw your desk. Find something on Pinterest and draw that. But that's what we're going to be aiming for, that whole screw perspective, screw detail, screw all this. We're just gonna, this is what we're aiming for. Just throw it down. Done is better than perfect. I can't believe I've talked for that long in a sketchbook session. I'm sorry, if you're here for the sketchbook session, we're about to start. We're nearly finished, but we're about to start. Yeah, I love John Muir-Law. He's got a huge book. Oh, it's not here. It's over the other side. It's like it's a tome. It's like the old encyclopedias, this thing. It's enormous. I was just going to say, speaking of encyclopedias, but actually I've put it back over there. I've got the what are they called? The DK books. You know, the people who do the colouring books. DK do a lot of encyclopedia type books that are just pictures. I've got the animal one and I've got the everyday objects one. And the everyday objects one is brilliant. You can just open a page and go, oh, I'm going to draw lots of telephones today. Off we go. Should we ever go at drawing that building? Not the complicated side, the other side. Let's see how that works out for us. Oh. Let me find a better... Let's draw this side of this building. If you want a reference picture, it's called the Burslem School of Art. Oh, I've got to use chat on the page. Hang on. Here we go. So, if you're interested in finding a reference page for yourself, reference picture yourself, that's what it's called. Hey, Rish. So, what have we got? Let's find a decent picture of it. I'm trying to find something that's... Oh, there's the whole building on the other side. It's a really modified photo. You can see all the relief details. Look, that's what it looks like in real life. That's the details you can see in real life. Look at it. This is done with like super high definition. Imagine walking up to that. Hey, John. Imagine walking up to that. And this is what it looks like in real life. And it carries on all the way. It's a huge building and it's so intimidating. Because you cannot get a decent angle on it at all. So at some point I'd like to go out and draw that one. There's a full picture of it, but it's not a very good photo. Let's see if I got a... Oh, I know. No. Oh, come on. I want one that shows the colours. Maybe we'll have to use that one. Come on. Oh, there's one in the snow. Oh, here we go. Ugh, that's a... Sorry, that's licensable ones. Let's look on Google Maps. Google Maps has... Street View. There we go. There we go. What's it called these days? It's the Burslem School of Art. Oh, it's still part of the Wedgwood Institute. Here we go. Photos. That's what we need. Ooh, they've got a 360 view of the street. Excellent. That means we can actually look at the building itself. Oh, that's not that part of the street. That's the back of it. Okay. Oh, here we go. That looks like a half decent photo. There we go. There's a photo of it. Oops. How did I manage that? It's not the whole building. I want the whole building. That's up close and personal. Come on. Somebody must have just taken a photo of the damn thing. That's the, oh, look, even more reliefs. Even more of the reliefs on this thing. It's so detailed and so complicated. Okay. Back to Google. The photo I found was for it when it was being renovated, you see. So let's Wedgwood Institute. That's the main building. The School of Art is the old School of Art building where Josiah Wedgwood set up a school in order to teach people how to paint his china. And it was called the Burslem School of Art. And it's still called the Burslem School of Art, and now it's used by the college. But it's still part of the Wedgwood Institute. There we go, finally. Thank you to Rosie at Corners of My Mind, who took a photo of this and put it on Google. There we go. That's the full building. Finally. We go, shall we? And literally going to try and do it really fast and loose. And it's 2:30 AM and you're about to go to bed. Oh dear. Put it on overnight. Oh, will it keep you awake? I got it wrong earlier. You're not Joe. That's the other one. You're Zen. Sorry. I just realised that. Okay, I have my, for convenience, let's use this. This is my, it's actually one of these, which I'm sure you're familiar with, carbon ink pen. My favourite pen. Not least of all because it is a super, super extra fine nib. And it's a drawing nib. So for those of us who work lefty, it's a great pen because you can draw with it. It doesn't just, like with proper fountain pens, you're supposed to hold them a certain way. Now this is a drawing pen. You can draw in any direction. It's one of these, but I cut it off with a saw. Because, yeah, your username messed me up. But it's okay. I get you confused with the other one who's got a similar name, but it's not the same. I'll get used to it. I'll get used to it. Just keep reminding me that it's not. Because he keeps changing his username as well, and that confuses me as well. So this doesn't post. And it's really annoying. Especially if you're out. If you're out and about. Lose your lid or your pen, right? I love the fact that these pen lids are so tight as well. You do not dry this pen out. It just doesn't happen. I haven't used this in about 6 weeks. Yes. Or, you know, when I get your name wrong, just say, nope, Zen. Other one. It really messed me up. I used to recognise you and now I'm like, No, don't know. Bad with names, worse with faces. Yeah, but I can post this now, and it's super short and stubby, and it's really easy to use. But I haven't used this pen in months. That works straight away. I mean, it could be better. It's probably out of ink because I haven't used it for ages. Let's check. Oh no, it's not out of ink, it's just a bit dry. There we go. This is the only pen that doesn't dry up that I have. Alright, shall I draw on this? Actually, I can probably paint over that. Let's draw on the other side. Let's at least pretend we're going to do it properly, shall we? So, I need to do this fast and without thinking about it too much. Now, I watched a really informative video with Stephanie, can't remember her name, I'll have to put it in the show notes later. Stephanie somebody, she's an architect, but she's an urban sketcher, and she does tutorials. And she said, the most valuable piece of information I've had about urban sketching, look for the squares. Because you start her, and I'm almost repeating what she said here, but most people start by either drawing a door, or they start with drawing a window, or they start with trying to put in the roof. And instead, look for the squares. So what we've got here is basically a rectangle with 6 squares. And the centre one has a gap where those pillars are. So that's what I'm going to draw. I've got a rectangle. Oh no, my line isn't straight. Don't care. I care a little bit. I'll go back over the line. There we go. So it's divided in half across, like that. And then there's squares on this end, squares on that end, squares in the middle, but there's a gap. So let's do about there is one gap. And about here is another gap. Oh, they're not quite squares. Never mind, doesn't matter. Okay, so here we've got a curved thing in here. And then we've got a lintel type thing with some square reliefs here. And we've got 2 columns coming down here. And we've got 2 more over here, like that. My brain's already going, oh my god, what are you doing? Okay, so there's these come out, so there's big feet on them, like that. 4, there we go, yep. And then there's a big curved piece, and then there's like that, and it goes off. And then this is steps coming down. We can deal with steps later. Okay, we can do this. It's fine. It's fine. We're drawing a diagram. We are not trying to draw an exact replica. Put in the diamond square things, and these have big circular things in them. And this is kind of like a balustrade type thing there. And we've got, I can't see the doors. I'm going to zoom in just to see what the doors look like. Oh, why can't I zoom in? There we go. So, oh, there's actually 2 doors in there. See, if I hadn't zoomed in, I wouldn't have been able to see that. So there's 2 doors. So there's a gap in between here, and then there's a door here, And then there's a door over here. Let's say I'm a little bit off center, so I can only see a bit of that door. And there's a big window type thing there. And then these are the actual doors down here. My brain! Stop! Brain! Stop trying to tell me that it doesn't look pretty. It doesn't need to look pretty. It's a diagram. Art Institute at Wedgwood. Part of Wedgwood Institute. Used for teaching locals how to paint china. Now part of Burslem School of Art. And yes, I'm deliberately scribbling with my writing as well, because I write super tiny and super neat, and I don't want it to look like that. I want it to just be scribbles. I'm just making notes, brain. Shut up. Okay, then we've got, right above these two, we've got the two bits here. I've got the height to width ratio of the building a little bit wrong, and it's going to hamper my efforts. But since I'm now at the point where whatever I do is not going to look right, maybe I can actually make it through to the end without trying to censor it. Okay, and then this has a huge thing on it like that. And then we've got more balustrades. So we've got a little bit there, and then another one here and another one here. I'm trying to do this fast. I'm trying to imagine if I was sat out, or even better if I was stood. Maybe that's what I need to do when I do urban sketching, because I've got a nice little stool that I sit on, or I always find like a coffee shop with a good view or something like that. Maybe what I need to do when I go urban sketching is to stand up and do it. Because let me tell you, if I stand up and draw, I'm going to be done in about 15 minutes. Whereas if I've got a comfortable seat, a couple of hours at the very least. Okay, we've got bits that stick out on the end there. This relief comes around here and sticks out, and then these come straight down, but they stick out at the bottom. The fact that I'm doing this in pen, I don't feel I'm not worried that I can't erase it, because I'm used to working in pen. But I can imagine if you were doing this in pen right now and you weren't used to doing this kind of thing, that would feel a little bit intimidating. So watch out for that as well. That you're suddenly like, oh, but I can't do it in pen. I won't be able to erase it. Well, that's the point. I don't care about being able to erase it. But I do care about making a recognisable, pretty picture. And that's not what I'm after from my urban sketching. I can make recognisable, pretty pictures sat at my desk till the cows come home. I can do it. I'm more than capable of it. I don't need to do it when I'm urban sketching. Okay, now we've got these massive windows. Now, I learned a thing about these massive windows from that Stephanie woman. So, windows with rounded tops and arches and things like that. She said, underneath the arch, like most people when they draw an arch or a rounded window will do that, right? Which, it's tempting to just do that here because, and I probably will actually, but I'm just, you know, for argument's sake, I'm just going to show you. She said, actually, what you need to do is when you look at this picture of an arch, okay, here's your arch, and maybe it's got some fancy things here like that. She said, actually, what you need to do is look for this shape. And the shape you've actually got here is a square. So you put in a square. And what you'll see is that actually this part here is a semicircle. So what you'll end up doing is drawing a circle here. And once you do that, then you can start adding on the bits. So, okay, that's the side, that's the thing coming up the end. This is the dark shape underneath the arch is all this. The shape of the arch comes around like that. There's the building. This is the centre line of the arch, and oh look, that window is right in the middle there. You know, and stuff like that, and suddenly it looks more like an arch. And she was showing how that works. It's really interesting if you're into doing that. I love those kind of little bits of architecture. But if I was going to draw an arch like that, I would only draw the arch. I would concentrate on just that window and perfect that window. I wouldn't be doing this. Okay, I forgot about the window. So there is actually a centre line. So let's rough in a bit of a centre line above this middle window. So that's where the point of the arch is going to be. So the point of the arch is going to be about like that. Let's take it across to about there, and so there we go. There's the arch on this side. They're not going to match because this gap is not as wide as this gap because I'm sat at an angle, but I don't care. I do care, but I don't care. I'm trying not to care. I don't mind if they're wonky as long as they're both wonky in the same way. That's the weird way my brain works. They still have to match each other, you know. Stop it. Okay, I think I can do this with this window here, like that, and then go like that across the top. So it's using the same principle, basically, but it's not doing it exactly the same. There we go, that works. And then we've got a lintel above the window with blocks on it. I'm not going to fuss with making them rectangular. My brain is saying, but they're rectangular. You're not, you've got the same number on each one. I don't know. I'm just going to put the blocks in. But is there 7 on one and 6 on the other? How many blocks are there? I don't know, and I don't care. I'm trying to... It's like doing your eyebrows. They're sisters, not twins. Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly it. We are going to put that on here. Windows don't have to match. Quote, they are sisters, not twins. Is that makeup channel still going? They got really, really famous, didn't they, after the beauty blenders came out? Okay, let's see. So this is actually a big piece of white here and here. So we can use that for the window frame. It's fun doing this, but it's also... It's weird because I don't care about making a pretty picture, but I do care that I'm not rendering a building that I absolutely love correctly. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's a very strange feeling. Anyway, let's get some of these details in on these columns. We can worry about what they actually look like later. It'll all come out when we put colour on it, right? That's what we're saying. It'll look great once we put colour on. Oh, there's big... so I nearly missed those. There's big head shield type things. I can't really see what it is. It kind of looks like it's that sort of shape. It sort of looks like it's got a face on it, but I don't think it does. I think it's a coat of arms. But I can't really see what it is, so I'm going to try and not worry about it. and I'm just going to try and make this one look similar, but they're sisters, not twins. They don't have to look the same. There we go. That's that done. You know, it looks a lot better on camera than it does up close. I think this is the kind of drawing where I would have to draw it, colour it, close my book and not look at it for a week. And then come back to it in a week and go, oh yeah. Once you've done this one, if you ever go to properly do it, you'll already studied the building and given yourself diagram notes. Yeah, exactly. I won't be as intimidated by it if I draw it from real life now, because I've drawn it from a photo. But I also have an idea of how the building... I'm not going to be trying to figure out in my brain, what does the building look like? How does it work? You know, I've got a comfort zone. I've got a basic idea in my brain that it's a big rectangle with 6 squares and some pillars in between and pointy roofs and big windows at the front and some pillars in the middle. So I've got this overall structure now in my head. So I wouldn't be intimidated by it. And, you know, there's a big complicated pattern to these windows, and I'm just gonna simplify it. Because who has time? These ones divided in half, and then there's something going on here, but I'm trying not to worry about what it is. I desperately want to look at the picture and render it properly, but I'm not going to. And then there's a detail down here. Let's divide this up into little things here like that. And these are white window panes, so all of this bit I can go back in with Posca marker. Okay. There's big blocks and then diamond shapes on these pillars. So there's a big block of different coloured stone, and then the colourful things. And there's some kind of something here in a different colour of stone. That's probably a cornerstone or marker or dedication or something, because it's not on the other side. Okay, so these bits... I have to put another line in there. Okay, so that's kind of like that. I think I put too many steps in, but I'm trying not to judge. The big wall here. And there's a railing thing coming down here and going across here. And I am not going to count the railings. I'm just going to divide it in 3. There's a big street light there, but I'm going to omit the street light. I can't be bothered with trying to work out how to put a street light in that. Okay, these windows are all crisscrossy windows, and they're sash windows. So we've got a big bar here and a straight section here, and then the whole thing is just crisscrossed. I'm not going to count panes, I'm just going to put it in so that it's a crisscross pattern. We don't need to count windows, it doesn't matter. Just put the same number of lines on each one. Okay, then there's a thing across the top. There's lots of fancy stuff going on around here. but I'm going to avoid drawing that in. I'm just going to draw the blocks in. There's fancy stuff going on above the windows, and my brain is trying to figure out how on earth to draw that because it's straight lines and curves. It's just straight lines and curves there. And I don't, my brain doesn't know how to draw that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go straight line, curve, straight line, curve, straight line, curve, straight line, and then we're going to divide all this in half. And then on this one, there's a big black door in there. And I think it's got windows and stuff, but I don't really care. I'm just going to put it in as a black door. I think the bottom half of it is entirely black like that. And all of these are black. I probably shouldn't be colouring it in with pen. I should probably do this with the colours later, but okay. And then this side, we're going to do the same thing. So straight line, curve, straight line, curve, straight line, curve, straight line. Divide it down the centre. And there's a door here somewhere. Oh, it's actually on the opposite side on this side. So there's a black door. Divide it in half, make it a black door. There we go. Actually, if we do that, that will make it look more like a door. There we go. Anything else? So I'm just going to start at the roof and work down. So we got the roof, we got the reliefs, we've got the two pillars and the balustrade. We've got two pillars on either side with things jutting out. We've got little bits of H things coming down to a block and another jut out, and then we've got a stripe and a diamond and a thing here, but nothing on the other side. In the middle of the two, we got the columns coming down. We got two little windows and a big window. We've got the balustrade. We've got the thing coming out. I did it as a curve so that it would kind of look like it was coming out, but it doesn't really look like it's coming out. So I think I'm going to need to do that and that to make it look like it's curved in, because this bit's curved out and that bit's curved in, and it makes, if you were looking at it from above, it would make a circle. This part here would make a circle, and the doors are on either side. It's confusing. Anyway, we'll pretend. We'll pretend it looks good. We don't care. We don't care. Yeah, kind of care, but we don't care. Okay, this is bricks. Let's indicate bricks here, and the big bricks. So let's just indicate some big bricks on here. This is all red brick, so we don't really need to do that. Okay, let's just add some colour and see what we end up with, shall we? There's a relief along the windows in the centre. A relief along the windows in the centre. Where? The windows in the centre. Here. I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing anything. Got the bricks going up, lintel going across. I mean, there is more lines here. I could probably put in an extra couple of lines there just to account for that bit. But the whole point of this is not to put in so much detail that you feel like you have to add lots of it. Okay, so that's drying. As it happens, I've already got a red here that will work for the brickwork. And I need a yellow colour. So I need a yellow ochre type colour. And I'm going to use my travel brush, which is what I would use. I like water brushes for working with ink to make ink run, but I don't like using them for paint. That is not my idea of fun. Okay, so we've got this colour, which is pretty much exactly what we need for the red brick. That will work fine. So let's do all of the red bits. So all of this bit is red. This bit is red. The thing about symmetrical buildings is it's easy to follow which bits you're colouring in. So coming down the column, we've got a red block. This is all red where the diamond is. This is all red around that block there. So on this side, that bit is red. Around the diamond is red, and all of this bit is red because there is no extra thing on it. This is all gold. This has got red. Oh, it's also got a line of... Oh, I've put it above. Okay, never mind. Panic over. Not panic. Do I look like I'm panicking? Actually, now I'm colouring it. I don't care. I've stopped drawing it. Now I'm colouring it. And I'm like, it'll come out in the wash. It'll look alright in the end. Oh, I didn't put in the matching panel on these two pillars here, though. Which I do need because that colour carries the colour across. So I'll just have to let that dry a second before I go in with colour. These bits, the bits in here are dark actually, so that'll help pull those red doors out behind those pillars, because on one side you can see it and on the other side you can't, so it'll give you a better idea of how the colour works. And then we've got this bit here, this bit here. There we go. I think that might be all of the red bits. The rest of it I see mostly as yellow, but there are sections where it's very mossy and green and discoloured. So I'm going to find my watercolours here. It's tempting to want to throw yellow ochre on this building, but yellow ochre is a flat colour. It's opaque, and I don't want opaque. So I think what I'm going to use is quinacridone gold, which is my favourite colour in this tin. I'm going to put a little bit of that yellow in it there, and then I'm going to put some of this one in it to darken it down a little bit. And that should give me a granulating colour, because one of these is Holbein and one of them is granulating Daniel Smith. So that should give me a mottled type of colour. Okay, let's start in the middle up here where it's not going to bleed into the red. Oh, yeah, that's nice. I like that. Okay, so all of this is yellow. All of it. So I'm just going to paint across all of it. Paint across all the blocks. I'm enjoying this, but it's also, it feels really weird to be unrendering something so rendered. Does that make sense? It feels very alien. But I do like this red and gold together. That's a really good... In fact, I think I hit on the same combo as... can't remember his name, Miranda used. Okay, so this is all... And then this part up here. And these blobby bits. This really chunky brush is good for this really loose colouring way of doing things. I like this brush for this, because I can't paint inside the lines with a big chunky brush, can I? And I don't really have lines to paint inside of, so the combination, it's much more fun to paint this than to paint what I would normally draw. Does that make sense? The reliefs are orange, and these reliefs are orange, and this is all... I'm getting sloppier and sloppier as I go along. It's fun. Oh, that was the wrong colour. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Just add more water to it. It'll look the same in a minute. There we go. Oops. How long has this taken so far? Does anybody know? This is kind of the same colour, but it's got that green tinge to it. So I'm going to do it gold initially, and then I'm going to put the green over the top because I think that'll work. Bit of gold there. These bits are gold. Yep, these bits are gold. You know, it's weird. It roughly looks like the building. I mean, it looks like a 3-year-old drew the building, but it looks like the building. If you knew the building, you would recognise it. At the same time, I'm just going to water this down a bit more so I can do the floor. The floor is very pale. It's recognisable as the building, no matter how badly it's drawn. It doesn't look like the building, but it feels like the building. Is that weird? It really does feel like the building. I like this where it's darker in places. I'm going to go back in and add some more colour to these bits. I have to go in and add some more colour to these bits anyway because I didn't do the balustrade. I'm not painting it accurately, just throwing the colour in the roughly the right place. It seems to be with this that the more you guesswork the lines, the looser your painting is, and the looser your painting is, the more character the building has. That's how it feels to me. I love this gold colour and how it's shining. And I'm going to go back over the red in a second, and that's really going to kick out. What did I use for that red? I believe I used that one, which is some kind of Holbein colour. Yep, there it is. And I added some orange, which is Holbein orange. There we go. That's the colour. So now, I'm not, you know what? I'm actually at that point where I don't even care if the colours bleed into each other now. Wow, we've gone from being really uptight and wanting to render everything to the nearest brick in ballpoint pen to, actually, I don't care, I'm just going to throw the colour on, and if it bleeds, it bleeds. I think I got my mind out of that. We must make the building look exactly like the building. It looks like a building, and if you recognise the building, it looks like that building. I do feel like I need to go back in and do some additional rendering in a couple of places. Oops, missed a spot. That should be gold in there. I do feel like I need to do some additional rendering, and I think this needs to be a little bit darker. I'm going to add some more brown in there because this bit is in shade. So if I can make this bit look even darker, that would be good. Let's put some dark up there. There we go. I like it. Oh, I need to do this more often. Because everything I paint properly is very controlled. You've seen me work. Even when I'm doing animals in my sketchbook and I throw down a patch of colour and I draw around the outline, that is the same print. Oh my God, that's the same principle as what I'm doing here, but with buildings, isn't it? I'm teaching myself my own way of drawing with something completely different. There's something about man-made structures. You have to make them all the right way, though. I've got this green, which is a mix of two of the... It's actually Holbein Spring Green, which is that one. And this one, which is a dirty, swampy, muddy green. I think it might be malachite, but it might be a different one. It's one of the gemstone ones from Daniel Smith. Without getting it out, I can't tell you what it is, and I don't really remember names of my paints. I just know it's a granulating one from Daniel Smith. So I'm going to use that to throw that green colour over the yellow, and I think that will make some really weird kind of colour choices. So all of this side is very mossy. Ooh, the red bled. The red bled. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Let's throw some on this side as well, just to make some, you know what, I'm going to throw it everywhere. Make some variation in that yellow. Why not? Not absolutely everywhere, but just a lot of... Oh yeah, look how different that makes it. I've suggested the building, yeah. Teaching is the best way to learn. Oh yeah, that's why I went into tutorial mode as soon as I didn't know what I was doing. The minute I don't know what I'm doing, I start teaching it to somebody else. I learn it as I go because I'm trying to explain it to you. It's not so much not knowing what I'm doing, it's more I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I just need to get my squirrels in a row. And if I'm trying to explain it to you, then I get my squirrels in a row. Feels freeing to just let it go and just go with the flow of the pen and the brush. Yeah, it really does. It really does. And I couldn't work out why it didn't feel dark enough. And I've just figured out it's because I haven't painted the windows in. So I'm going to use what's left of whatever this grey is. I think it's Payne's Grey and Moon Glow, which is going to granulate like crazy. So let's add some more in there. And I might even add a bit of that red in because there's a red brick building opposite. So that's obviously going to have... mix into it as well. Needs to be darker though. I need more Payne's Grey. There we go. And lots of Moon Glow, and then whatever this one is that isn't Moon Glow but it's similar. And a bit of water and a bit of red. Actually, let's just mix it all in together. Yeah, there's a nice dark purpley colour. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to go all over this because I can go back in with a white Posca pen and put those things in like I did yesterday. I really enjoyed doing that. I didn't use a Posca pen, I used a gel pen. I'll probably use a Posca pen on this one. But I really enjoyed just going back in and doing the very loose windows over the top. So I think I'll do that again. Because they are white, so, you know, might as well, right? Put these in and try and put in some little dark bits to show that that's a balustrade. Every time I say that word, it sounds wrong. But I'm sure that's what it's called, a balustrade. I'm going to paint the doorways in. Because they will show up in a minute when I go back in and do the other bits. Now these things are all different colours. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to colour that with some swirly colours. And I grab a bit of green. And a bit of this yellow. And a bit of this really bright orange. And just leave that to dry. I don't want to do too much with it because if I start disturbing the colours they'll mix together and we'll get brown. Okay, we need some shadow on the old steps here, so let's give the steps some shadow. And this bit could do with some shadow, there we go. That's the wrong side, should have been that side, never mind. We'll just do shadow on both sides, it doesn't matter, it's never sunny anyway. There's some greyish bits up here. Well, they're kind of greyish, but they're darker. But they're not really grey, but they're not really any colour. They're just very dark. So I'm just going to put those in with that dark colour. Same with that ceiling. Put that in. Add some shadow under there. Oh, those windows. I'm enjoying the way the colours are bleeding into each other now. To the point where I kind of wish I'd let the colours bleed into each other more when I started. It doesn't actually matter as long as you don't end up with one colour. Not the best way, but you get my point. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It, for me, definitely. If I can explain it to somebody else, then I understand it. And in order to understand it, I have to get my thoughts in a row. So if I teach it, it's like my mouth starts and my squirrels go, oh God, we're talking. Quick, what's the next thing to say? And they start running and getting an order. Whereas if I just like, hey squirrels, we need a plan here. They're like, yeah, but how about this over here? How about this bit of shiny? Why don't you do this? Oh, that doesn't look like a window. Are you sure you want to do that? Yeah, and they start getting distracted and then all bets are off. But if I go into teaching mode, it really helps because it's like the squirrels go, oh, quick, we're teaching. We've got to do something. We know what to do. We know what to do. Quick. Now, I kind of want to do something to fill this space. I wonder what that relief says. I bet it says something along the lines of who built it and when it was built. Okay, so Burslem School of Art Wiki. Which is what you do when you don't know about stuff. Recently refurbished. The art school originated in 1853. Built by Josiah Wedgwood on Queen Street to teach the women of Burslem how to paint pottery. How about we do... Oh, wrong pen. How about we do a little thing like this. Pretend it's a cornerstone, right? We'll make it kind of like that, so it looks like this. We'll do a little... There's some kind of a relief thing on it, so let's do an embossed thing. This coat of arms is probably Josiah Wedgwood's coat of arms. So let's make it look like the ones at the top. See? Identical. Oh, we're going off camera. Hang on. Don't start moving around. There we go. Whoa. 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 Okay, stop. There we go. So I'm basically doing this thing. Let's do a little bit of detail on that, like that. So we can then say, oh, look, that's this thing. So established, because I don't know what it actually says. I'm just going to say established in 1853 by Josiah Wedgwood. What was his full name? Josiah something or other Wedgwood. What was his name? Why is he not mentioned on here? Oh, Wedgwood Institute. There we go. Wedgwood Institute. Founded by... Josiah Wedgwood. Oh, just Josiah Wedgwood. Established 1853. J. Wedgwood. Okay. Founded his company in 1759. Old money. Okay. Constructed. Subscription. The estimate. Guess how much this building cost to build when it was first made? I'm going to put in here Okay, so it was, let's see, I'm taking some clues from Danny Gregory here, or some tips from Danny Gregory. So it was designed, let's do a little doofer thing here, shall we? Make it decorative. Designed by A.R. Wood, local architect. A little thing. Opened 1869. So it took 16 years to build. 16 years to build. Burslem School of Art. Oh, did I put here? No, I've already put. So let's put refurbished. 1999. If any of you watch Time Team, there's a session of Time Team where they go, they were digging up a local bus station, our local bus station in Burslem, and it was directly opposite Josiah Wedgwood's house, in the middle of the town square behind the town hall, where the market used to be. It's in Market Square, and they dug it all up to replace it back to the market. But as they were digging it up, they had Time Team. You know, Baldrick. What's his name? I only know him as Baldrick. I can't remember his name. The archaeologist team came up. My old archaeology teacher came up, and I'd go good old chat with him. Yes, I did archaeology as GCSE. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was more like geology than geography A-level was, I can assure you. They found loads of bits of pottery and really unique bits of floors and all sorts, because when they filled it all in, when they dug up the marketplace and filled it all in, they just filled it in with whatever they had around. And you dig up any patch of land in this area and you either hit a Victorian tiled floor, because they were cheap as chips. Everybody could afford to have a Victorian tiled floor, because what you practiced making at work in order to make fine china was Victorian tiles. So you made them. You made a spare one every day, or your practice one, or your warm-up one, and you got to take it home. So eventually you had a Victorian floor, like the posh people. So almost all of our floors are tiled. When they did this excavation, they found so many rare pieces, and so many, because the whole thing of Wedgwood, there was never a faulty piece. His quality was second to none. There was never a faulty piece allowed out of the factory. It was all broken. And some of these pieces that they found in the landfill were complete vases and cups and plates and all sorts that were faulty, but they were all intact. So they're rare as hen's teeth, because Wedgwood just wouldn't have it. But obviously someone squirreled them away or put them away in a cupboard somewhere, and they ended up in landfill or whatever. But he would literally walk through the factories. If he didn't like what he was seeing, he would take it and smash it. It's one way of making your task force do the job properly, I suppose. Anyway, when they did all this excavation, because they found all this rare stuff, before they put the marketplace in, they put up the ugliest building you've ever seen that was a museum to all this stuff. And eventually it all went up to the main museum up in the city. But we had a local museum with every single thing that the Time Team found. And they auctioned it all off. Some of it, the rarest pieces, went up to the museum, but obviously they can't take every single piece. So they auctioned it all off to the local people. And all the money from that went into rebuilding this. So, what do we think? Original cost. And it says it was from the... How did they put it? It was from the... Oh, by public subscription. Original cost by public subscription, which is basically before the council. The people paid for it. Original cost by public subscription. How much do you think? I know it's a little tricky because it's pounds versus dollars for some of you. But, you know, couple of quid and a good cup of tea. That's pretty much how much it cost, yes. Couple of quid and a good cup of tea. Original cost by public subscription for a 16-year build of this 3-story building. It's actually 3 stories because it's built on a really big hill, and at the back it's 3 stories. At the front it's only 2. Original cost £4,000. 1999 refurb. How much did it cost? I'll give you a clue. It was in pounds. And it was considerably more than a couple of quid and a cup of tea. Anyone? More than that. Yeah, definitely more than that. Definitely more than that. I need to just take a quick comfort break. So you come up with a figure between yourselves of the 1999 cost versus £4,000. Okay? I need to just take a quick comfort break. I will be back in 2 seconds. There we go, that's better. Are you following me, Doodlebug? Are you following me about? Hi, baby boy. Hi there. 2 million, 12 million. Can we cheat and look it up on Wikipedia? Actually, in a kind of roundabout way, neither of you are too far off, but you actually are. Actually, Zen's closest, because 1999, remember, not now. 25 years ago, 23 years ago. 1.2 million. So, 12, a little over. You just missed the decimal point, right, Pam? If you'd put in the decimal point, you'd have been fine. It's so interesting though, isn't it? Refurb 100 years later, or 130 years later. 1.2 million versus 4,000 to actually build it. And the refurb wasn't for the outside, it was for the roof and the inside. So it wasn't even for the actual, it wasn't like they redid the entire thing. They didn't even clean it. They just did the inside and the roof. So basically just decorating. What are you in? 5 points to Gryffindor. Yeah, you just missed the dots. You missed the dots. It's like Zen, he meant to put 1.2. He ended up putting 2. It's late. It's late. As I was just thinking, I want to do something a little bit, just a tiny bit more, not a lot more. I'm not going to go crazy with it. I just want to put a little bit more. Oh, I need to do the windows. I do want to put a little bit more context. Not too much. I'm just going to take some of this blue and throw it up there to show that it's not in a built-up area. Don't need a lot. It just, there's the sky, right? Oh, 5 points to Ravenclaw. Yes! 5 points to Ravenclaw. There's the sky, and I'm just going to water down some of this grey down here, this greyish purple, because it's a really nice colour. It's very granulating, and it just will add a little bit of interest to the page. Look how it granulates on the palette. Got all those different colours in it. All the blues and everything come out. So let's chuck a bit of that down there. I'm not even filling it in properly, I'm just scribbling at this point with the water. And then this bit will be yellow, so that means I can use up this bit of yellow on my palette. And then I feel justified in cleaning my palette, because I'm not going to use that pink. I could use my pink actually. That colour has dried very weird. I'm just going to put a bit of paper towel into it. Paper, not even paper towel, is it? You know what I mean. Let's just go back in with a bit of something brighter on these. Let's let the pink dry and then go back in with what's left of that green. And while I'm doing that, let's get a big chunky white paint marker. I'm just wondering if this would work the other way around, and if that would produce an even looser kind of thing. I'll explain in a second what I mean when my words are working again. So I'm not even going to stain the black lines on these, because that's what I did yesterday. I didn't even bother staining the black lines, and it worked really well. It just looked really good. Whoops, not that far outside the black lines. That was a bit crazy. So was that. Oh, the paper's warped, so it's really hard to draw a straight line and make it look intentionally wonky rather than crazy. So I'm having to be a little bit more careful with where I put my lines. Only a little bit. I mean, it's not essential that I'm careful. Okay, so watch out for the door, watch out for the door. Watch out for the door. Watch out for the door. See, that black door stands out now. Trying not to be too careful, and I think maybe I could have been just a little bit more careful. Just a little bit. She says going wildly outside the lines. Oops, that's on the door. Don't want that there. There we go. That's added something to it. I like it. What white pen am I using? I'm using a white Posca pen. It's the 3M, which is the one with the fibre nib. I can't use the ones with the plastic nibs. I have lots of them and I can't use them. I don't normally use anything this chunky for stuff like this. I would prefer to use, like on yesterday, I used a gel pen. Sakura Jelly Roll. Goes on clear. And you have to draw a little bit slower with it than I'm doing now. But it does work. And because these doors are in here are in shadow and a bit further away, I'll actually use it on these doors. So the bits of the doors here, see, it looks like it's not very white when you first put it down. It looks like it looks terrible actually when you first put it down, but as it dries it will get more and more white. It will go opaque. Yeah, I was just thinking, could I use... Ooh, I just had a really good idea. Could I do the colour first and then loose draw over the top? Would that give me an even looser effect? I think it would. Okay, silver, because silver railings. There. And there. And there. Is that it? Is that all the silver railings there are? And there's a silver railing here. And a silver railing here. And that comes further down. There we go. Another Posca pen. Yeah, I like the Sakura Jelly Rolls. The white Signo in the extra broad is good. There's two different white Signos. The chunky fat one is the better of the two. But you have to draw slowly with it. The reason a lot of people can't get the gel pen to work properly is because they have to draw slowly. Whereas this one, the problem is not that you have to draw slowly. It's the fact that you have to remember that the ink is going to be clear until you put it down and it dries. See, it's starting to go more opaque now. It matches the Posca. I like this. I like this a lot. The only thing I'm going to add to it, because I think it will add a bit of oomph to it, shall we call it? And I'm going to be lazy and do it in pencil, even though I could do it in watercolour. I'm just going to grab a dark colour. Where are my dark pencils? Where are my pencils? Where are my pencils? Where are any of my pencils? Too slow. Okay. Let's grab watercolours then. No time. No time. And I'm going to use a slightly smaller brush just for this one thing. I'm going to add some dark, I'm going to use that Payne's Grey again, but this time I'm going to add some of that really dark brown, which is like a very neutral brown. It'll give me kind of a neutral tint colour. There we go. And on the picture, what I can see is that here and across here and then there, and then over here, it's kind of lower down. And you can see from the building opposite, like reflecting in the windows. And then there's a patch here that only goes across 3 windows. Did I do that dark enough? I don't think I did actually. Should have been a bit darker, I think. Should have been a bit more oomph. There we go. It just gives that kind of, it's the reflection of the building across the road in the windows, and it's just the difference between where the sky is and where the building is reflecting. But it all looks black. But see how that makes the windows look shiny? That makes the windows look reflective. The windows are reflecting the sky. Okay, enough now. And since I've got this dark colour here, I'm just going to do something with the doors down here just to make them actually look like doors instead of big black scribbles, since I did cover over part of them with Posca marker anyway. And then I'm going to go in here and do the doors in here as well. And I'm not even going to bother putting the windows in. I'm just going to leave it like that. There's the doors. Let's do a little bit of dark in these windows, because these windows are undercover, so they're not reflecting the light. So that actually will be quite dark under there. And let's use that dark for that ceiling part as well. Here we go. Look at that really cool effect. Yeah, it's a really cool effect. I can't remember where I picked it up. It was a tip off someone to just draw a really dark reflection in the window of something. It doesn't have to be anything in particular, just something, and it will automatically make the lighter part of the windows look like they're reflecting the sky. It's such a clever thing, and it's so simple to do, but it works. It really works. You know, I like that dark colour. I'm going to put some darks in under these. It's a really good shadow colour actually for the bits that stick out. So I'm not being too particular about them or anything like that. I'm just going back in over those bits. Oh, the roof. The roof sticks out, so we can put a really thin bit up under there. Just a little bit of shadow. Yeah, it makes so much difference. I really enjoyed this. It's been a lot of fun. I want to do another one. We've been here for 3 hours, but I want to do another one. I can't do another one on stream. I need to stop and go and eat and, you know, poppers, green stuff over the road, that sort of thing. I cannot sit and stream for the entire evening, much as I would enjoy it. But I really like this. I think it's cool. I've got to do more of this. I've got to do more of this. This just whatever sketching. Just pick a building and throw it down, or pick a place and throw it down. I think I'll do it initially because even though I'm used to sketching in public, this is something I'm learning to do. You've got to have a certain level of confidence. And there's a different level of confidence between doing it real quick on stream and doing it in public where people are going to stand and watch you do it. It's not that I'm intimidated by it. It's just I would like to have... I would like to be able to concentrate. Because when somebody's watching you, it's hard to concentrate. When I go into teaching mode on stream, nobody's really watching me. If that makes sense. It doesn't, I'm sure. But let's put the green in here. I forgot about that. Not that it matters, it's all pink now. But I can add some colour pencil to that or something just to make that stand out. I like the way they're different colours and I think it would look cool. Let's just do a really tiny little... Let's just do a little tiny study, shall we? How about if we do... Okay. How about if we do... hold that thought. I just want something that would be quick to throw together. Here we go. So this, whoops. It's gone big and I don't want it to go big. Save the image. There we go. This is the doorway of the Wedgwood School of Art opposite, okay? And I'm thinking, how about if I just do this bit, maybe with him on top, and just do it, just this relief part here, and do it in paint first and then go in with pen. That should take me maybe not very long. I'm thinking I'll put it in here. That's going to be hold on a second, what have I got here? Bits of paper, not the right kind of bits of paper, not the right kind of bits of paper, not the right kind of bits of paper. Come on, I just want a bit of paper that's... What's that? That's very cheap paper, that won't work. Come on, I've got something somewhere. I know I have. What have I got at the back here? I want something that's not going to absorb paint too much. Oh, is this sticker paper? Is this sticker paper? It's sticker paper. Ah, that'll do. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. There we go. Marvellous, Marvin. I need a bit of glue. Where's my glue? Where's my glue? Oh, this sticker paper is not so sticky on one side for some reason. Don't know why. Maybe I just didn't stick it down properly. Maybe it just had air in it. Oh, it had air in it. There we go. I heard it fart. There we go. All right. Now we've got a place to draw this here thing. I'm going to end up drawing it too tall, probably. And I'm going to try and not think about it too much, what I'm I'm just going to try and throw it on. Let's see. Let's see what happens, shall we? It's fun to watch you going from struggling to start because your brain was trying to make it perfect to this is cool, I want to do it again. Yeah, because it's fun. Because my brain is now like, oh, I see what you're trying to do. John Muir is absolutely right. Once you twist your brain into, oh, hang on a minute, you're not trying to make it pretty. Oh, you're writing a diagram. The minute I started writing on the picture, it was like, oh, hang on a minute. You're not trying to make a pretty picture. Cool. All right. Where's my red? I need my red. I need some more red. You know what? I like the bright colours. I might... Oh, I have to mix this one though, don't I? I was going to say, I really like the bright colours. I might just work from the pan, but I have to mix this red. I need to find a terracotta type red that is this brick colour. A Daniel Smith colour, because I use this colour all the time. It's the colour of the brickwork around here. I can do the gold in the quinacridone gold with the malachite green over the top. It works perfectly. This yellow is exactly what I want. But the red is really hard to get working because this colour on its own is just a tad too dark. No matter how much you water it down, it's a little bit too dark. You have to add yellow to it. So I need to find a Daniel Smith colour that's a convenient colour that will work. Okay. Here we go. So we've got, I'm going to work as fast and loose as possible. We've got 2 bits down each side here, or 1 bit down either side here, like that, forming a kind of a pillar thing, like that. We've got a big Gothic arch, so it's actually pointed, and then goes up a bit further to where the spring is, and the roof is actually triangular. So, oh, it's not working on this sticker paper. This must be my old sticker paper. My new sticker paper is photographic printer paper, sticker paper, and it works way better. So this is going to be the point about here. Sorry, Josiah, we're not drawing you today. So there, I still don't feel like I'm being loose enough with this. I feel like I should be, I'm trying to draw with the paint instead of just throwing the colour on. We got little things here. We've got some, you know, let's grab the yellow. There's a bit of that there. We've got, oh, some of this is yellow. Oh, okay, never mind. I'll just throw it over the top of the red, it doesn't matter. A lot of this is yellow, actually. I didn't notice that. Okay, that's a bit of a mess now, but maybe we can salvage it with the pen in a minute. All right, we've got a big triangular bit in here that's really dark, so I'm going to put some more Payne's grey in that to make it darker, so we've got lots of contrast. Because that dries lighter, we've got windows and we've got blue doors. Let's use that blue. It's very washed out. It's not quite the blue that that the doors are, but it will work in the context of what we're doing because it's a very mottled kind of, see, it's not really blue. Again, it's one of those Daniel Smith granulating colours. Okay, let's add a bit of just yellow on the top here so it looks like we're meant to make it look like that. Just do that, and then, oh, let's do the figure on top. There we go. There he is. There's Wedgwood. This and this can have some blocking, and there's a big thing right there, which I think if I use this colour, this silver colour, it should actually work because it's gouache. So this can go right there. We'll outline it with white. And that'll be great. See the shapes there? The shapes there. I wish it had gone a little bit more, maybe it would work better on watercolour paper. A little bit more blended out. Maybe I needed to wet the paper first. See you, Zen. Thanks for joining us. Maybe I should have wetted the paper first so that it spread out and bled into each other, because that's what's exciting about this, I think. That's what makes this technique fun, is if it's... I've done this with animals before. I've never done it with buildings. And I'm quite enjoying it. But I wish it had bled more. Now we have to wait for it to dry. Sorry, guys. Nobody has time for that. It's going to take forever. So I'm going to leave this to dry, because it has to dry completely before you can go to it with pen. But I'm essentially going to go over it with my fountain pen. Or I might even use my... I wonder if I use this one. The Pentel sign pen. That might be fun, because it'd be chunkier, thicker lines like this one. Oh, that could be fun. Let's have a go with that. And draw it in with this. And see what the contrast is. Yes, let's do that. Because I can already see how the pen's going to look on here. And I quite like it. It'll look good. It would look better if this colour was bleeding out a bit more. But I'll try the chunky pen once it's dry. And I'll be able to blend out some places with this pen as well, because it's water-based. So there'll be some places I can go over the pen and bleed it out into the colour. That'll be an interesting experiment. So if you're following me on Coffee, that's where you'll find this. Not subscribed. You don't have to pay anything to follow me on Coffee. You can follow me, or you can become a member. You don't have to be a member to follow. You can just follow. But I will post it over on Coffee when I'm finished it later, because it's going to take a little while to dry. It's completely saturated through the paper. So if you want to see what happens with this, go follow on Coffee. I'd also like to try with my my Ohuhu paint markers. These are acrylic paint markers. I mentioned them before. They're acrylic paint markers, but they don't actually dry waterproof like Posca's, which is weird. So they kind of work like gouache pens, because you can colour them with them, and then you can go in with a water brush and blend them together, because they don't dry. So I'd quite like to play with that as well, I think. So that's going to be my evening. I'm going to be playing up with that. I wonder how many pages in my sketchbook this little experiment is going to take up. So far, we've done 2. So I've done 4 pages in 2 days, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. I might try with other stuff as well. I was going to draw a... can't remember what it's called. Prickly pear. Did you know? You know those cactuses that grow like rabbit ears? Right? When you see them with like yellow or purple or red or pink blobs on the top, not flowers, but the proper blobs, those are prickly pears. I did not know this. So yeah, I was going to draw some rabbit ear cactuses and put some prickly pears on them. Maybe I'll try the same techniques with rabbit ear cactuses and see what happens. Fill that page up. I'm in the mood to just play with paint. And I will also, I think, have a go with my... Try both these. Actually, no, it would work better with... Would it work better with that or that? I'll try both. I'll put the I'll put the Ohuhu markers down first, and then I'll go over it with pen. And then I'll put the pen down first and go over it with the Ohuhu markers. Add water to both. See what happens. Right? Might get brighter colours with that. Because this, I mean, it looks good and I like it, but it's not punchy. It's not got that bright colour that I really like. I'd have to go over it like 3 more times to get the punchy colour that I really like from watercolours. And who has that kind of time? This is why I like markers, because they're really bright. Look at all the colour I got in that one. And that was 1 pass with each colour. Ooh, what if I drew the building in what if I drew the building in Ahuhu's first and then did the detail after? I want to play with this. I have to play with this. I have to play. This is going to be my current obsession. We're going to be doing this in class. Bring your sketchbooks on Saturday. Yes, this is going to be my next obsession for the month. Last month it was figure drawing, fashion figures. This month, buildings. Crazy buildings. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to stop there before I get overexcited and start streaming for another 4 hours. Thank you for joining me. Hope it's been fun. I will see you guys. If you're in class or over on coffee, I will see you soon. And if not, then I will see you next week. Next week we will be back to Wednesday. So feel free to come and join us. Watch out for notifications. Or follow me on Coffee, because that's where I post stuff. Yeah, you would have known this morning that there was going to be a stream this afternoon. Look, it's my new site, okay? And I'm excited about it and it's fun to play with, so I'm going to plug it. All right? Everybody keeps saying how they're tired of hearing about Patreon. Well, I'm on Coffee. Thanks, guys. See you next week. You just followed on Coffee. Awesome. Have a good weekend. Bye, guys.